Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and you guys, one of my favorites is back on the podcast with me. You love her. I love her. Dr. Summer Kassmel, how are you today?
Hello, I am good. It's just busy all the way around for everybody, isn't it? It's just busy.
It is. Tell everybody what you're eating right now, because I think they just need to know what happens behind the scenes in real life.
Oh gosh, actually right now I'm in my Avon office, and if one of my dental assistants happens to listen to this, she would giggle because I bought sour gummy worms and gummy bears and piled them on a plate, and it was huge, right? When she came back the next time, they were practically gone, and it was all me. She was like, "Whoa, Dr. K." I was like, I know. So yeah, it just felt like that kind of day.
It does. I agree. Well, true confession, I was at an office one time and they were like, "Oh yeah, we have all this Halloween candy. Have some if you want some." I don't know what came over me that day, but I pounded candy. And I remember we went back there. I was too embarrassed. I was fresh into consulting, not quite comfortable in my own skin. And they're like, "Whoa, who ate all the candy?" And I just giggled.
I don't know.
And I was like, "Yeah, that was a lot, huh?"
Yeah.
Don't worry, it was all me. Now I would definitely own up to that, but back then I was not. So I'm glad that you're confessing all of it, and I'm jealous because I would love to be eating gummy bears and gummy worms with you right now too. So
yeah, I couldn't hide it. I was just like, "Victoria, I'm sorry. It's just that kind of day." So.
I love it.
I did save some for the rest of them. I did,
but I'm the worst when I'm supposed to save one for Jason. Sometimes I just have this evil piece of me that comes over. I'm like, maybe I'll save you like a half of one. So I bite it in half, and then I'm like, actually, is he really going to want the half-eaten one? Clearly not. So I just eat the whole thing and justify to myself that it's not a big deal. Clearly.
I know.
Clearly, I've got some issues over here. But on that note, let's pivot real quick and chat some dental things. And a question that you've been asked a lot, a question that I'm excited to dive into, is the difference between a personal assistant and an executive assistant in a dental practice, and why to even bring in personal assistants. I know when I first hired a personal assistant, I will tell you, I felt like a snooty tooty person that was like, who am I to say I need a personal assistant? Like, what is this? I think it was 2018. I had been in business for about a year. And I was like, you know what? I'm hearing all these people say, get a personal assistant. It can free up a lot of my time and I can do more in the business. And I remember having so much guilt of just, who am I to really think that I should be hiring a personal assistant? So I'm curious. I'm sure there are other people. I don't think I'm the only one feeling that way, but I'm super excited to dive into this personal assistant. What do you even have personal assistants do versus what an executive assistant should do in your company?
Yeah. Well, and usually this question comes up when I'm talking to doctors, specifically women doctors, it feels like are often, as we've discussed before, just wearing a lot of hats, juggling a lot of things, with a sense of overwhelmment. Is that a word? Overwhelmment?
I like it, because we said overwhelmed today a few times, and I'm like, the art of being overwhelmed. Let's just call it overwhelmment.
Yeah, can I make that up? But I talk to women doctors a lot who are kind of feeling that sense. And, part of, being able to do it as well as possible, I guess, can include bringing in a personal assistant. And, the first thing I tell people is really, and we obviously both learned so much from Mark Costas, that one of the things that he taught me was keeping a time journal to try to figure out during the course of, say, a 1 or 2 week period of time. And, I'm not talking every, 5 minutes need to be, down, but really kind of figuring out, where's your time spent? And yes, it's going to be at the office, but on your off time, what are you doing as far as kids, and shopping and laundry and, things for the business that are maybe really minute details that you're actually the one doing. So keeping a journal of what your, say, 2 weeks looks like, and then circling or highlighting everything that could be given to somebody else for under, say, if you want to start, maybe on the lower end, anything under 25 an hour, something that could be put into somebody's plate for 25 an hour. And, I find that a lot of times all doctors are doing, insane little tiny things that are keeping them from some of the really big things. And it's something that, believe it or not, I have come to find there's other people who love the details or love something that's just not your super genius spot. They actually really enjoy it. So you can start small, even with 25 an hour or 50 an hour. What could you actually delegate out? And even start small with 5, hours a week to be able to give to a personal assistant. Right now, what I find is there's so many people at home that would love to, make a little bit of money doing these 5 or 10 hours a week of some of those smaller things, whether it be for home or your business. So that's where the personal assistant can come into play. And a lot of times I get questions about, like, what all can they do and where do I find them and how much do you pay them? And we can dive into that. But first things first is just figuring out where you spend your time, and is it really moving the needle forward type stuff? Is it your zone of genius? Is it, the things that you love doing? Or is it things that are really keeping you from doing more of the stuff you love? So that's where I would start.
I like that a lot. And I agree with the shout out to Mark Costas, because I, don't worry, didn't want to do the 2 weeks of time journaling. That felt real long to me. And so what I did is I remember I just brain dumped every single task that I had to do, every one of them that I could think of. And I know I missed some. So I think the time journaling is a much better approach. And I've done that in several different offices, and I've since done that myself. But what I did was, because I felt like 2 weeks, like I'm an instant gratification gal over here. So I just brain dumped everything. And I went back and I highlighted, and I really had to be honest with myself of what tasks truly could only Kiera do. And there was an identity piece in me that really was being shaken, probably ego in there as well, of, well, no, I'm the one who can do that, or I'm the one who best can do this. And I really had to challenge myself and say, Kiera, is this something really, truly only you can do? Like podcasting, I am the only one at this current state, based on the direction we want the company to go, that can podcast. That is literally something I can only do. Doctors, you are the only person in the entire practice that can prep teeth. You're it. I can't do. You're the only one that can diagnose. Beyond that, everybody else can do a lot of the things, but nobody else can do that. And so for me to really look at my list, that's where it helped me to see it. And my favorite color is pink, so I highlighted only Kiera tasks as pink, and everything else was yellow. And on a whole sheet of paper, I will tell you there was probably 3 to 5 tasks of that entire sheet that truly were Kiera only tasks. Again, I kind of felt, but if I give all these away, what am I going to do with myself? Or do I have a purpose in the business? Or am I going to be seen as this lazy boss that's not doing these tasks? And what I will say is, when I delegated those tasks that could be delegated, I started having more time to create, more time to build the business. And I wasn't busy. There was a spot where I still have it, where sometimes I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, I'm building a job for a job that I've never done before, and I don't really know what that looks like every day. But because I have the space and it's not cluttered with busyness items that could be passed on, I have the ability to create, to grow the business, to do things that only a CEO of a business can do, while having other people that are more effective, more efficient, get some of those other tasks done for me. So that really helped me. And I would say it was a challenge, and I want to be honest with that. It wasn't an easy thing for me to truly identify, because I also had to come to the realization that if I delegate this out, it may not be done the way I would want it done. And that doesn't mean it's wrong, but being okay that somebody else is going to take this on, and 90% of the time it's going to come back just as good, if not better, than how I would have done that. And therefore I need to let go of that control and grow myself in another area.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep, a complete tight control on every little thing. The thing that I find is we become the bottlenecks in our own practices and our own lives. And, it's just releasing that control. And sometimes it's because, to be completely honest, we're not in a space to want to tackle the bigger stuff. We're really in that space of like, it's easier to cross off that to-do list of all the really tiny things because it feels good. And so, and I have been completely guilty of all the things we've discussed. But really, it's saying to yourself, like, I'm ready to kind of take on the challenge of tackling some of those bigger problems, and allowing somebody else, really, believe it or not, the joy too of tackling some of those things that they can do and do extraordinarily well. And, I can speak from experience that a couple of years ago, very well, my executive assistant now, Andrea, when I hired her, people ask, where do you find them and things like that. There's really great ads that honestly, Kiera is probably one of the best at writing ads, and places you can put them. But the place I found her was actually my local just church that I've gone to for years. And I started asking around, and that's actually where I found her. But, pay scale wise, you can start, on the lower end. I hear lots of people start at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that range, going all the way up to 20, 25, depending on the tasks you're delegating. And this is where it can alternate between more of the personal assistant, which our friend Kelly Dove, I was doing a little webinar with her. She uses her personal assistant to be truly like a personal shopper for her family, getting her groceries, meal prepping a few small things for her. I think dry cleaning, stuff like that. She's truly more of kind of that personal assistant. She is, I think, a college student, loves it, is super helpful. I think helps with the kids, driving them around for a certain amount of hours per week. Well, that's something more maybe, cost-wise, and you'll know your own area. That's something that you would pay them according to the area and what they're doing. And that's more of that personal assistant. Well, you may find that sometimes people can either morph into more of that executive assistant position where they're actually helping scale your businesses. And they do it, not within necessarily the confines of your office. And that's what Andrea has actually turned into for me, where she actually helps with the hiring process in our offices. I have, a dental assisting school. Obviously, Kiera, what we do with Women Dentists Connect. She helps in all those different businesses, much like you had Kaylee do. And so that kind of morphs that person from being a true personal assistant to an executive assistant. Not to say that all personal assistants should become executive assistants. I don't think that's actually the natural progression at all. I think often you have to hire either one, is what I should say. I was fortunate that Andrea just is extremely detail oriented, really everything I'm not, and loves organization, and just had such great insight into a lot of the business stuff that she morphed into that. So
totally. And something I think is important to note as an office manager, and Summer, you have an office manager, you have a regional director or a practice director as well. I think it's important as an office manager myself. Sometimes office managers aren't as effective because doctors turn their office managers into their personal assistants. And what I really love is, guys, like, delegate that out. I can't tell you how many times I was scheduling dates for my doctor, and I was like ordering food for them, or I was sending gifts for them. And I just thought, you pay me a lot of money to do these things. Plus you bog my time as your office manager down with all these little things that truly somebody else could be doing. And therefore I don't have as much time or bandwidth. And I feel like I'm constantly having these things piled on me. Yes, I can do it. But the reality is that the best use of my time as an office manager? So putting that caution out there that I know a lot of doctors do. I mean, Tiffany Trader, she's told me so many times, she said, I felt like my doctor's personal assistant because I was sending their CPA all these tax forms, and I was doing researching all these different things for their personal home. I remember as a dental assistant, our office manager was helping our dentist be the contractor for their home. And it was just all these little minutia tasks that really, truly, I think, pay attention to, is your office manager being your personal assistant? And is that really the best use of their time? Or if you freed them up of some of those personal assistant, executive assistant duties, could they actually be more effective in the job you hired them to do? And And I really think it's important to look at that because yes, you might be paying somebody else, but gosh dang, a personal assistant is so effective on so many levels. This morning, I was actually just thinking, because Summer, we got off of our call this morning and there was all those little things to do. And I'm like, gosh, I miss having a personal assistant that would just do these things for me. Because those things, yes, I was like, well, great. I can just quickly send that off. And yes, I can. I am physically capable, but I just thought all those little things, I'm not going to be the best to follow up with that. I'm not going to be the best to make sure it actually gets done. But yet a personal assistant who loves to make your life easy, loves to look for ways. Kaylee used to go through my inbox and respond as me. And Jason, my husband, could not tell if it was me or Kaylee who wrote the email. That was our test to see, did Kaylee sound just like me or not? And little things like that. So like responding to emails, sorting through them, screening people for the podcast. I think for doctors, a lot of it's, like Kelly Dove, or I know Mila Cohen, she uses her personal assistant to grocery shop for her as well. And, her personal assistant, I went to the office, she's in New Jersey, and their cars, the situation for parking around the office was annoying. So all the team had to set alarms on their phone. So every 2 hours, they'd go out and move their cars. And Mila was really smart, and she hired this personal assistant who literally went and moved all the cars every 2 hours so the team members could actually be more effective and not have to always be getting up to go move their cars. And I thought it was pure brilliance because just those little things that don't seem like they take a lot of time bog your whole team down. And then Summer, I love what you said of like, there's the personal assistant. I remember Kaylee used to order vitamins for me. She used to book my personal trips while she was booking travel for my clients. There was a lot of personal things, but again, Kaylee equally morphed into that executive role. Kaylee went to COO role where she started seeing all the details. And I love Andrea, your executive assistant. Andrea takes care of all the details, which Summer, it's funny that we run a sister company together called Women Dentist Connect, which by the way, guys, you should totally check out our event, womendentistconnect.com. It's this year, it's virtual. So come one, come all. It's going to be a ton of fun, November 13th and 14th. But Summer, you and I are two birds of a very similar feather that do not care for details. And yeah, we run this really fantastic company, but we have to hire people to get the details done because the reality is, in full love and transparency between the two of us, those tasks would not get done without somebody who loves to do those tasks, because you and I would be like, well, shoot, we forgot to think about that until the day of the event. Guess what's back, you guys? Women Dentist Connect. Yes, Dr. Summer Kassmel and myself are putting on our first ever virtual event. We did it last year. We had raving fans, and due to COVID-19, we decided we're going to continue on. So mark your calendars, November 13th and 14th. All women in dentistry. We don't care who you are. If you're a doctor, a treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, spouse, we want all females to come with us to Women Dentist Connect. So pop on over to our website, womendentistconnect.com. Tickets are on sale right now. And we even did a thing where it's your entire team can actually come. We want all of you to come. It's going to be CE. We're going to talk about mom guilt, how to run a successful business. We're having an incredible speaker lineup with Dr. Mark Costas. He's our only male cameo. We're having Desiree Yazdan on social media marketing, Aaron Elliott, who's talking about sleep apnea. We're also bringing on Dr. Amanda Wilson to talk about ortho. And of course, Dr. Summer Kassmel and myself will be there talking about how to hold your team accountable, how to run effective meetings. So don't wait. Get on over to womendentistconnect.com. I'll see you guys November 13th and 14th.
And that's just it. Is like what I absolutely love and appreciate is, and this is something that until you experience it, it's hard to understand. But the joy and pride Andrea takes in helping to scale these businesses with those details, like just as excited as I feel when I challenge team members to be better leaders, or I watch them do that, is exactly how excited she gets when she gets some of these little details knocked out of the park for us. And that's where, like, because I'm not great at that, I don't understand sometimes how somebody else can love it so much. But now that I see it, I so appreciate, really having that visionary with that implementer to see just how far you can take your business. And so, I think that this is kind of something that you could talk about forever when it comes down to like, well, where do you start and what do you do? And I'm like, just start. Just seriously put an ad out for what you're looking for. And, you're also, obviously welcome to list Andrea's information as well. She's helped other doctors and people who are trying to figure out, kind of what does a personal or executive assistant do. But yeah, you just need to start somewhere, and it can start small with 5 or 10 hours a week at $20, dollars an hour or something, and see how many tasks you can actually put onto their plate. And, I've had people who say, well, I feel guilty then though, if like I want to book a massage. Well, the thing is, and it's funny because Kelly and Mila and I were actually talking about this, that self-care, genuinely, we hear it all the time, but I think we don't truly put the oxygen mask on ourselves as women. And so we sometimes just keep playing that martyr role forever versus just stopping and taking a little bit of time to actually genuinely make sure we're okay so that we can, put the oxygen mask on other people. So I've had people who are like, well, gosh, if I'm freed up, then I need to write a book or scale every business or remake all systems. And sure, yes, if you want, for sure that should be part of it. But part of it is to ensure you get exercise and rest and care and, whatever brings you joy. That should be part of it too. You're bringing that person a job that is giving them what they like to do, hopefully, and you're getting to actually enjoy some of that time and scale your business as well.
Yeah, I love that, because so often I think, no, if they're working that hard, I need to be working equally as hard next to them. And I think often we forget, as CEOs and business owners and doctors and dentists and leaders, that there is a piece that I think is one of the most important pieces. My mom shared a quote with me, and she said, it said, like, presidents and CEOs of businesses, their most important job is to sit in the office or sit wherever is good for them with their feet up on the desk. And I was like, oh my gosh, Snob Hill, no way, not going to be there. And the article continued on and said, because one of the most important jobs a CEO or a leader can do is have time to think of the best practices, like the podcast. This podcast literally came to me when Jason and I were hiking Yosemite Half Dome. I had no phone. I had no distractions. I was sitting there vomiting about all my business ideas and all of a sudden I was like, we're going to start a podcast. And it was one of those lightning strike moments. But had I not given myself that time with personal assistants and teams doing a lot of the tasks for me that I used to do, those ideas could not come through. I had shut off. I had so much busyness going on that I forget that some of my most important role is thinking and creating that does not get checked off of a list. It's very hard to tangibly track my thinking time, my creating time, my I call it white noise time, where there's nothing going on. Like, sit on the freaking couch for 15 minutes with nothing going on and just let thoughts come. That's hard. And sometimes I feel guilty because I'm like, oh, put it on the to-do list that Kiera's sitting on the couch for 15 minutes of white noise time today. That doesn't feel good. It doesn't, especially in a society that's so measurable and metrics, and some of these things are not measurable, but it's important to give yourself that self-care. It's important to give yourself that white noise time, especially with as many things drag and pull on us. I know they're not measurable, but they're so important. I believe they're the vitality blood that runs through a business. And if you choose to suffocate that off, you choose to suffocate your business as well.
Right. Well, and it's kind of like, I know for me, it's like having that quiet time in the morning, and setting truly a time where you meditate, pray, whatever it may be. Like, without it, if I just hit the ground running, it's a very different feel of a day than if I get the chance to just stop and still, even for a little bit. It's just a different feel. And so I agree with you completely that, and I have some doctors who are like, well, I'm just not the visionary kind. Like, I'm actually more of the implementer kind. That's totally fine. Recognizing that and having clarity that may not be you who's going to dream up all the different things, but boy, oh boy, maybe it is your office manager, and giving them that capability to help, be that visionary type position so that you can help implement, or vice versa. It's pairing yourself with those people that really do complement skill sets. So, going back to, kind of what we started with is personal assistant is a great place to start. For your business, if needed, the executive assistant can really free up team members and OM to be extraordinary in their positions. And that ultimately gives you that capability of figuring out the clarity, the white noise, the self-care. It gives you that place to be able to start to almost see above the clouds, I think.
Yes. Yes. So you guys, in the Dental A Team podcast, so it's dentallateam.com/blog. Don't worry. We're cool like that. We can't change it to podcast. It's so annoying. But if you pop over there, there is a space where you guys can enter your email and get all the downloadable forms. We'll be sure, Brenna and Alex, to make sure that we add in to the show notes today and also on the website, or you can email us hello@thedentalateam.com. Sample ads for personal assistant, executive assistants. Summer is super kind, offering to connect in with Andrea so we can connect you guys with her. But the reality is, I think this is one of those topics that I had heard probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before I finally decided, okay, I'm going to take action. And the reason I didn't take action is because I didn't have a personal assistant to do it. And it was on my plate that I kept forgetting to do or just thinking I shouldn't do it. So I would say today, write the ad, post it out there, see who you get. I will tell you guys, I just posted personal assistant in our business because we were trying out different ones. My personal assistant ad always gets candidates. I usually average about 85 people, and then I make them go through a series of tests. So for me, some of the questions I do on interviewing, so as soon as they respond, I say, thank you so much. I have a few things to check on before I even interview them. And then I send them 4 scenarios. And the scenarios I send them before I even do a phone call interview with them is I have them book a flight for me. I have them build a graphic for me. I have them tell me what their core values are. I have them check in to see, some other things I've done is I have them respond to an email. So, hey, this is an email that would come in. How would you respond? And once I go through those items, one, I check to make sure they've got good attention to detail and that they're willing to try something. The graphic, I purposely make them, I just give them an event, or you could have them build a flyer for free whitening, whatever it is. It does not matter what it is. It's to see, can they figure out problems without much guidance and direction? So that's what I always look for. Those are my 4 scenarios that we send to all of them. I also ask for their DISC or Enneagram as well. I have them attach that, and I watch to see, can they attach? Can they create these things? Could they book travel? And it just gives me a lot of interest. I mean, there are some people that put me on red-eye flights, and I'm like, I'm not hiring you. If you think a red-eye flight is a good choice, we are not on the same page. I hate red-eye flights, but things like that. So I get a quick sampling of who they are, and most people really enjoy it, especially when they're applying for a personal assistant. Some people say, I don't want to do this, and I'm like, perfect. You just weeded yourself out. I don't even need to bother. Like Summer said, check at church. But there's lots of places. So I'd say tangible, actionable item today is write the ad, post the ad, tee it up, especially right now in the world, you guys. There are so many people at home looking for jobs. They have their kids at home, so they can't go to an office, but they would be an incredible personal assistant that could do a lot of tasks for you. And you yourself in practices, we just talked, Summer and I literally just recorded a podcast earlier today about being overwhelmed. And this is a great way to not be as overwhelmed because you can delegate, outsource a lot of those tasks that take up so much time that would free you up.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I have anything to add to that, but yes, exactly. And I think I heard it several times too. That is something I giggled about because I did think it several times because it felt just very ostentatious and very, gosh, this is just frivolous. I can do my own this or that. Well, yes, you can. Like you said, you can. But is it going to actually get you to the next level or give you that space and time to get yourself healthy? Or is it going to truly move the needle forward in one area of your life? So, I think just being really frank with yourself when you're doing the journal, whatever it may be, of is it really what you want to be doing?
I love that, Summer.
And COVID's given us all so much clarity, isn't it, of what we want to do with our time, I think. So
yes. And just because you don't enjoy doing it does not mean it's wrong or bad for somebody else to do it. I always say give them that freedom and flexibility and be okay with that, because just because it's not your dream job doesn't mean it's not somebody else's dream job. And that's okay. If you guys want a tangible book on some of the things Summer and I've talked about, Rocket Fuel, which is part of the Traction series, gave me so much clarity of me as a visionary and what I needed to hire as an implementer. It was so freeing to see that there people really do enjoy that. And Kaylee read it with me and she was like, yeah, I love to do those things. We even took the quiz. She was sky high on implementer and I was sky high on visionary. And so we were good yin and yang. That means she enjoys doing tasks that I don't enjoy doing. So I would say for you guys, what's it going to hurt? Try out a personal assistant for a month. And if you hate it, fantastic. Don't continue doing it. But at least you tried something different to see if the results could change for you. So try it out.
out and tweak it. You really, just because you don't get it right the very first time doesn't mean it's a wrong decision. So
exactly. All right, you guys, there's your personal assistant, executive assistant. Let us know if you guys have things that you're using your personal assistants for. Oh my gosh, Summer and I are always on the hunt, on the lookout for better practices, better ways to be doing things, because why should we be wrong for a minute longer than we need to? Thank you, Alistair McDonald, for that quote. So please send it in, hello@thedentalliteam.com. If you've got some things as doctors, things you have your personal assistant or executive assistants do, you guys, I will happily share this, whether it's on Instagram, in a newsletter, but in a podcast, we'll reshare it with you. So please, sharing's caring in the Dental Team family. So send those over, hello@thedentalliteam.com if you want sample ads or if you want to share some of your tips. So as always, Summer, thank you for joining me. For all of you listening, thank you as well. And we'll catch you next time on the Dental Team podcast. All right, Dental Team listeners, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. And if you love today's podcast, go leave us a review. It takes you 5 seconds, and your review helps more offices, more practices, more team members just like you find out about the Dental Team. Thank you guys so much for being part of my Dental Team family.